Welcome to part 2 of the Raspberry Pi 4 8GB 64-bit OctoPi and OctoPrint server install. Now that we got it all up and running like you saw in the last video, we're just going to climb in and do a few things. Just a few notes right off the bat. One of the big things to note is that I set a static IP reservation in my router for this so that it keeps the same IP at all points in time. You can do that on your OctoPi or your router yourself, or you can leave it alone and just let it get an IP address every time. Once it boots up, on the screen it actually prints out the IP address for you, and we are just going to climb on it real quick. And to SSH into it, just need to do an SSH pi at the IP address that you saw. In my case, it's 10.1.1.1.175. The default password is just Raspberry. And you can see on here when you log in, it actually tells you that if you want a desktop environment, that you can run this script and get a desktop environment on your Raspberry 2. Since this is just going to be an OctoPrint server for me, I don't really need to do it. One of the big things though I do want to get on here though is just make sure it's all up to date. OctoPi does update like once a day, and it should be up to date by now, but let's just double check. Sudo apt get upgrade. Okay, as you can see, this one is fully up to date. We'll just take a quick look at HTOP. You can see 4 cores and 8 gigs of RAM. So looking good so far. From here, we actually don't need to do anything, as this is OctoPi and everything else should be running already. So we can just exit right out of the SSH session and hop over to our browser. So let's just go ahead and type in the IP address. And you can see that it's loading the setup wizard for OctoPi. So we'll go ahead and hit start. We're not going to go and restore this from backup. We're going to just start right off the bat. You just want to set up a base username and password. We'll use admin. And my password is all dots, just so you guys know. And we're going to say keep access control enabled. And click next. Sure, I'll allow anonymous usage tracking. And this is connectivity check. Basically for updates. And we'll click next. And we'll allow plugin blacklisting. And the default printer profile here, we're going to fill this out for me. You're going to fill this out for whatever you want. I have a Creality CR-10V2, so I'm going to call it CR-10V2. And Creality CR-10V2. The print bed and build volume, yours might be different than mine. I have a rectangular, I have a heated bed. The build volume on my CR10 is 300 by 300 by 400. Access you can leave, and if your nozzle diameter is different or you have more than one extruder, change it here. For now, I'm just leaving mine there. Hit next. and then hit finish. And over here we can kind of see that the serial port connection is going. We'll try to hit connect. And you can see that it started reading the temperatures. If we click over to the terminal tab, you can see that it's talking to my printer. Absolutely great. And it's connected to our printer, and we know that it's connected to our printer. Let's go up, hit the little gear wrench. This brings up all the settings. We can tell it to auto connect on the printer, which I'm going to do. You can take a look at the printer profile that you set up, differences in temperatures, presets where you want them, anything else with the terminal filters or G-code scripts. You can allow different options in here. I'm not going to go into every single one of these. If you have a webcam and time-lapse, it'll set that up. I do have a USB camera hooked up to this one right now, still waiting on the Raspberry Pi cam for this right now. You can set up the access control, go into the G-code viewer. I like to change this number right here on desktop because I print large items a lot, up to 80 megs, and hit save. I'm going to go back up here. And you can go through all of these different settings, but the first big thing that you want to come in here and do is do a software update. And it looks like we're all up to date, which is absolutely great. So let's go back and take a look here. We've got the temperature. Here you can control the printer. You can actually see that my webcam is working, and if we want, we can tell it to go home here. And if we were getting ready or printing something, we could go over here and actually see the G-code viewer or anything like that. If you want to, you can upload files directly to here to print off of. Most of the time I use Cura and set it up so that I can print directly over the network to my 3D printer. So that this is all working and it's talking to the printer, let's get our slicer working to talk to OctoPrint. In this case, I like to use Cura. Some people use different ones. You'll have to find setups for that. In this case, I'll show you how to do it with Cura. You can see I've printed it direct from this machine to it via USB. In this case, we're going to want to get the OctoPrint plugin. So we go to the marketplace. Takes a bit to load. We can come down here and find the OctoPrint connection. Click install. We'll have to quit. And restart our Cura. We can just simply go back up, go to our settings, printer, manage printers, and we'll see a new button that says connect OctoPrint. Click that and click add. We'll call it OctoPrint. We know the IP address from earlier. The rest is just fine. Click OK. And click close. Click close. If we flip over to the monitor tab, you can see now it's already connected. It's got the camera. You can move everything around in here, shows the degrees, and we're absolutely ready to print to this. So that finishes off part 2, and we'll take a look at more. But as that goes, you have now set up an OctoPrint server. You're ready to print to it from your Cura. And I wish you guys the best of luck, and thanks for watching.